I see this little boy being cute and calm, but in reality he is a psychopathic killer. Let me tell you his story and how he killed any woman you met in his life in cold blood. This, my friend, is a sterile woman and does not fall behind at all. Today she was nervous about the other and was preparing the children's room because today in particular an adopted child would come to her, especially since she was living alone in the apartment after the death of her mother and husband, so she decided to adopt an orphan child and take care of him instead of living alone like this. The important thing is that after a while the door knocks, so you run quickly and open to meet. I was a little surprised by his haughty appearance, the intermittent teddy bear holding him, and his strange red eyes, and he looks at her with suspicious looks. Of course I was surprised by his appearance because he is supposed to be a small child at 10 years old. The important thing was that his gaze was directed at his meaningless laugh and focused on the social worker who began to introduce them to each other and introduce her to Run's condition. After a lot of excitement, she and her new son entered the house. The last one spoke and said to her, "Your hair is gorgeous, Mama." At that time his tone and smile increased, but she kept quiet and did not respond. After a while she brought him many sandwiches to eat. I was surprised when I found him not caring about the food, holding the knife and staring at her with a suspicious smile. Then he walked the knife slowly on his plate. She told him, "What's wrong, my love? Are you hungry?" Just suddenly Prama was printed on the ground. They cut down on food. I'm lying on the ground and Ibn al-Jahla says, "I don't like this food, Waya. Will you have a check? I'm a little, or bone with it." At that time the woman sat down trying to calm her nerves and told him, "Okay, no problem. Don't eat sandwiches, chicken. Do you want anything else, my love?" She smiled at him. She was from Loden to Loden. Enthusiastically he tells her, "Let's play hide and seek together." The six agreed and told him, "Come on, let's see. I'll hide while you spin me." Indeed, she runs quickly and hides in the closet, smiling happily and enthusiastically to play with her son. But the strange thing is that after a while I heard the sound of his footsteps as he approached the cupboard, but preventing her, I heard a knife's money while she was walking on guard, and we saw that the man looked terrifying and was talking in a scary voice and saying to her, "Where are you, Safasaf? You hid from me, where will I get you?" Her time? Didn't she put her hands on her bug in shock, and she couldn't believe what she heard, and she was trying to reassure herself that she was definitely imagining it. But she opened even one of the cupboards and got tired when she saw him holding a knife and moving it on the floor and walking around on it and saying, "You are you? Hide from me, where are you, Mama? Get me out quick." At that time Safar preferred her place. When she was sure that after a while she quickly got out and walked calmly towards the back door. But suddenly Ram grabs her hands with his terrifying red eyes. The frightening Mustafa came and spread with all her might from terror, and suddenly the knife quickly fell on her stomach and dragged her. Jab Arithmetic and Sig sat on the ground crying from the pain and fear, but then she was in trouble with a deranged killer, so she came as fast as she could to escape from him, and I went into the kitchen about spinning on any knife, but the boy was killing her and taking her health and wounds with great enjoyment, while he was laughing in a big street when she heard her screams, and he was enjoying the blood flying on his face, and it became clear that Al-Muradi had wounded her in her shoulder. At that time the woman sat down to him while she was crying and holding severe pain. At that time we spoke coldly and said, "Her oi supposed to be before I kill you." Laura ran in fear, holding her shoulder. He is holding the iron plate and working it on his hand, which has a knife. His hand starts to bleed, but the boy doesn't care. Instead of crying, Weisburg preferred to laugh hysterically and say to her, "What do you think? We continue playing since you have become so strong and you know how to train me as well and torture me." She didn't care and ran quickly while crying with fear. The boy was coming in. He was laughing enthusiastically and he looked like this. "Today I intend to cut it with a trench, my friend." Al-Safar reached the door and opened it, but unfortunately they locked it. He spoke violently and told her, "You can't walk away from here and leave me, Safsaf." Then the sixth tore with a new horror. But she gathered all her strength and tore him violently and entered the laundry room because he was the closest thing to her. She quickly closed the door on her and was standing breathing violently, unable to believe what was happening to her. When she looked from the top of the door, she saw him standing with his hand covered in blood, laughing with new happiness, and also workers saying to her, "Meshhat, do you listen to me a lot? I'll win the door and we'll play a little game, Mama." At that time Safar didn't care. Her phone came out and rang the police quickly, her hands covered in blood. Finally someone answered her, so she spoke quickly and said to him, "Follow me, please follow me. My son wants to kill me. Someone catch up with me quickly." Even before the Rumpy title gives them, the door opened suddenly and they began to rush towards it with anger. With the population full of blood and stubborn poverty, Laura quickly returned and began to do anything she encountered to him, but the boy was not affected and continued his approach. Suddenly, he attacked her and knocked her to the ground. One of his years old had an iron hand. He grabbed her and raised the knife to kill her. She did not know how to escape while he held her firmly. She panicked and said to him, he said, "Get on, you don't have to be a murderer like your father. Don't do this to me." Her time, he smiled softly, he told her. "But he didn't kill anyone. I was the one who killed him and stuck it in the other." His stupid smile increased and he laughed a new month at her shock. "And come, buddy, I will tell you the story of this vicious boy from his childhood after the death of his mother. It was long. His father constantly marries, and every time Ben would become fanatical and kill any woman who feared the house and took the place of his poor mother. He and his father used to hide the bodies until the police caught them, so the father was forced to take the case to protect his son. The important thing is that he kept moving the knife quickly in order to cut her control, but Al-Safa moved her head at the right time. She was terrified and the workers were screaming loudly, but suddenly she hits his legs with all her strength to the point that she flies in his place, and he flounces out of cautions, but Tanhusha's security was bleeding and workers were still laughing. At that time, the 6 people became angry with this deranged family, so I grabbed an iron ball like this and hit him on the brain with all force to the point that he fell to the ground and sat trembling and dirty with pain. At that time, he took advantage of the medicine. She threw the knife away and ran quickly at the same time that the police arrived at the scene and were able to determine the location of her house. Finally, they caught the little criminal and put him in the police car, and the last thing we saw was his smile. "I'll see you soon, Mama. I liked your origin. Strong. You're the only one who can escape me." After a while, the ambulance also arrives and they begin to take care of her wounds, and they stop the bleeding of his shoulders and abdomen. The woman was silent and did not speak from shock. All you think about is the deranged murderer who killed many people and gave them to his father, and he will certainly fight against them and continue his crimes. Our second story is about Mason and Lily, 2 children sitting alone at home. The families of television after their families went on a journey like this. While they are watching, the one sleeping and Mason, he grabs his phone and plays a little. But he was surprised that the lights went off and turned on alone. To some extent the TV and lights floated completely. At that time the boy was terrified, and 7 of them got up and tried to wake up his comatose sister. But then they hear a voice, "Open the door." At that time the boy was very terrified. "I hope his family comes quickly." Then he heard the sound of cattle footsteps in the apartment and they were terrified. Right? His sister, who stood up terrified, and when they looked through the curtain, they found 2 masked serpents standing. They tried to open the door suddenly, and they succeeded. She took his brother's hand and said to him, "We have to hide quickly before they see us." They actually ran down the road and tried not to make any sound. They entered the clothes room breathing with new fear, and when they felt that the thieves were approaching the street, they hid among the clothes. They were very terrified, but they could hear their voice as they broke the clothes and broke anything that came their way in order to find the money safe. At that time he grabbed the armor of Barabbas' brothers, and she was trembling until suddenly she reached messengers and came to Mason's phone, which he took out quickly and tried. But unfortunately thieves failed for them, and one says to his owner, "Is there anyone in the house? Let's go round quickly." Indeed, he said yes. The voice is coming from the locker room. He came to get tired, held her confidently with fear. Suddenly the door opened. The thief saw them and said, "What are you doing here, sweetheart? Come on, go." At that time the woman went home quickly, and she dragged her brother away, and they went quickly, and the thief followed them. But Lily didn't care and told him, "Hurry up, she's here quickly, let's hide from them." They looked up the stairs and entered the first room they encountered, locking the door firmly. Lily brought a large table and put it behind the door. Mason was nervous. He told her, "It's not useful to stay here. Let's jump out quickly." But unfortunately, the thief was due to the door. They opened the table while looking at large people. The family came quickly. She pointed to a ladder and they took it to the roof. They pulled the ladder behind them so the thieves wouldn't come out. The old man told them, "Won't you know, please stay up all day, and we are like this, we will not walk now at all, and welcome us to the last of you." The children were in a narrow hot place, burning, and didn't know how to behave. Certainly the one who was trembling with fear. But I kept looking around until I found a ventilation hole. She quickly went to the iron window and removed it, not paying attention to her hands, which were bleeding. She and her brother entered quickly and walked in the narrow hospital, listening to the sanctuary, fanatical and wanting to be delivered to them. At that time they opened the garage window and jumped into it, and before they could escape, they found the criminal in their faces and saying, "For them you are smart, strong children. Come on. I stayed and held the decision from her hands at night. Before anything is done, Mazen grabs a screwdriver and sticks it in a man. The man with all his strength dissipates with force. With the flame he quickly hits the door, which suddenly opened because of the second forbidden. He holds an iron in his hand and says to them, "Where are you going, sweets?" Before they approached them, they decided why the one who had a strange white face was covered. The important thing is that the old man continued to get dirty and his eye was very burned. Before they fled, he would come with a knight in every generation, sinking it into the ground and continuing to beat it. And the old man acted with this recklessness while the second was he was walking towards Mason. The first, when he met him coming to his side, he locked the rest of the garage on him, and they gave him the land while he was spending his pet to the one who was cut off under the door. At that time Mason looked at his sister and was shocked to find her face full of blood. But the strange thing is that he heard the man stealing, not her. So it becomes clear, friends, that the slanderous girl has changed her teeth in his hand and is not willing to leave him until he is serious. He is the one who tried to move away from her and did so quickly while he was getting dirty from the pen of his hand that drips blood at the same time that he heard the voice of a police car. And it becomes clear that the neighbors heard the sound of the children screaming, so they called the police quickly, and finally they caught the thief and arrested them. And then the ambulance car came, and the two children were fine. Finally, but they were terrified of what happened to them, and each one thanked the other and said to him, "Thank him for." I see that this boy seems calm and kind to you, and people are unfair to him, but unfortunately the owner of the view deceived him, and he also deceived them and killed them all. As for killing them, how is your friend the type to tell you the story? Who first? It was a normal day at school, and the teacher was sitting explaining patience to himself, and my friend's father and I were talking on WhatsApp and planning what we would do on the weekly vacation, but I saw this huge boy, his name is Yusef, sitting alone all the time, not talking to anyone, and everyone followed him because of his strange appearance, except for me. I always loved to talk to him and tried to keep him company, or at least reassure him. Until the day came when Walid Saab warned me about it, and we knew that he felt a strange fear towards him, so we must stay away from him because he never seemed reassured. In fact, I abandoned Yusef and completely cursed him until one day we heard the sound of the warning, and the landlord happened to say this. "This isn't a training alarm. Everyone get out and rest in the designated spots. Move quickly." His place. In the first, the students were still sitting and not filling up, until suddenly we see Yusef walking past the door, his hand covered in blood, holding a huge knife, and smiling brightly. When we focused a little, Lin's eyes were very wide. All blood and transparent, scary, smiling, and his teeth between were happy to an unnatural degree. Separation student turns into a scary and strange person. Suddenly we heard a screaming voice and girls behaving like a new slave and asking us for help. At that time the teacher brought me to the door so they could open it, but it collided when it was locked from the outside. Yusef is sitting laughing with new happiness, a laugh that never fits, his disdainful appearance and clothes that are all blood. But the strange thing is when he told them, "None of you get out of here, will you all die?" Everyone was tired when he continued, "I'm going in now, I fell for you, I will cleanse your head as well." At that time, the head of the office quickly closed the door, but suddenly Joseph is boiling his population at the door. She was going to leave what was terrified Noah, especially when Joseph spoke and said to him, "What do you look like?" "I'm very afraid, Noah." "Don't worry, I'll start with you, my friend." Then he puts Aziz's face on the door and says, "I too have been hitting this day for a long time. Noah, I wasn't gonna kill you like them, but you also abandoned me, buddy." Then he goes out for a year and licks the blood on his face while laughing with new hysteria. But suddenly the security men are afraid of the place and me. Inside she takes some treatment and Laura picks them up. Let's play, listen together. The first time I brought my father from his place, Noah took him out of the office and went out into the street. But they stood in their place in shock and were frightened when they saw that the wound was all blood, a lot of blood, and he hit his hand on the walls. And when they concentrated for a while, they found two of the students wounded with a very violent wound, and one spoke and said to them, "We were wounded and he enjoyed our pain." Suddenly they hear footsteps behind them, and when they look at Bella, Joseph stood in his place. He raised his abode and stole them with great enjoyment. Suddenly this blood-filled t-shirt is playing while smiling, and he tells them, "No one in you will run away. Let me play with you guys. I need to see what's inside you." Noah. Then the two dogs answer quickly, but unfortunately, Walid falls to the ground and Noah falls in his place from shock. When Joseph found him running quickly, he went up to them. At that time we will go and grab the fire extinguisher and throw it on his shoulder. But of course the boy was not moved, and they looked at him in a frightening way, and his smile was Moroccan as he said to him, "Are you? Think of me. I will cry. And you will hurt. And what does real pain look like?" Then he attacks Walid, who is trying to cross his path with a knife, until he runs away from him, while Noah looks and leaves the emergency door and finds a blue light, which means that there is someone waiting for him and who will help them. At that time Walid told him to run away quickly, but Noah refused and caught him and told him, "We will run away together," but Walid refused and told him there is no time. Run, you creep! We actually go and run away quickly towards the door, but with great hesitation, and he does not want to leave his friend to die, and he holds his hand to take him with him. But suddenly Joseph followed Walid and raised his dwelling, and his wickedness was sown with all violence. It's his time. And he opened the bug and he couldn't breathe, and workers scream with a severe pain. But Yusuf is not interested in a delegation, laughing as he instills the knife into his body more and more. The valley was emerging in a spirit of pain and being carried out with new difficulty, while Yusuf lit his tongue with strange pleasure as he smelled the scent of blood. Suddenly another police car arrived and drove towards him. But unfortunately that's not enough. Take out the knife. In another place, more violently, we still held his friend's hand, crying, telling him to let go. Don't cuss me from kissing your hand for fear. Enough, but Yusuf is not interested and stitches the knife more, so much so that blood came out of a bug. Poor Walid, who tried to smile while he spoke with difficulty, told him, I love you so much, my friend. Don't forget me. Suddenly Yusuf leaves his hand unfortunately and dies. At that time he is distracted with all his might, and he cannot believe that his friend died. His eyes are crying and he is terrified by his sight. Suddenly Yusuf leaves the body lying on the ground while he is still, and he is happy over the other, and before he goes towards Noah, the man, the police patted his shoulder quickly, but he was not interested and he was still smiling as he said to him, will you see me? In your dreams, Noah, your friend died because of you, because you left me and took you away from me. I won't leave you, Noah, I will kill you somehow. I killed him. After a while the ambulance arrived, police all over. Noah sat in the ambulance wrapped in a blanket, unable to speak from shock, looking at his friend's pouch thrown on the ground after the ambulance couldn't save him. We went and held him tightly, his friend covered in blood, remembering the moment he slapped his hand. Days when he wakes up scared and unable to even forget this day. Then we go to the police station. We know that Yusuf is in prison, but it is strange that he does not move, speak, or even sleep. He sat in his place with his suspicious smile and scary eyes, and he was happy because all the people who hated him were enemies of him. One day, his students disappeared from the annual school. Their names were Jack, John, and Mina. The police came to the school to investigate the matter, especially since they disappeared for 3 days, and asked teachers and students about their disappearance. Everyone said that there was a strange Arab woman left in the countries in the region around the school, and perhaps its owner was the one who made a mistake in the children, so most parents began to provide their children to the school, and teachers all the time searched the classrooms and corridors, and everyone was afraid and terrified that someone would be kidnapped again from a school. But the strange thing is that the students began to smell a strange smell in the classroom, such as the smell of chemicals. The important thing is that we go to a chapter. We see history teacher Imad, who has been missing for 3 days specifically. Since the first 3 students have disappeared, the important thing is that he entered the class without speaking and sat scribbling on the blackboard for a while. But everyone noticed the blood on his shirt before any of the students spoke. They heard the sound of an alarm. This was not a long feeling, which meant that there was great danger around them and they had to leave the classroom quickly, and the singing made them afraid. But Imad tells them that everyone should go under the offices and no one should move from their place. There's really no way out of here. And they fade fast, but the king of the glimpse of the policeman running in the hallway. At that time she becomes very nervous and realizes that this alarm is behind something. But Imad was not interested and went to the window and closed the curtains completely. He was full of anger and tension. Kilo formed the police coming for him. At that time Malak tried to pull out her phone and report it, but he grabbed her hands quickly and violently and told her that it was forbidden to use phones. I know that you are sharing, so you will hear what is better for you. Suddenly, a knife came out of his pocket while he was looking at them coldly and still holding the poor woman, who was breathing in terror and afraid of Tanta. But the teacher didn't care and told them, everyone brings his phone here. Quickly. At that time the king looked at her and tried to reassure her, especially since the teacher seemed to be the one who kidnapped their friends, and he was openly black, and in fact she listened to his words and was completely calm while Imad was holding the trash box and walking around, and Stum was holding the knife and saying to them, do you know what's funny about your school? It's normal to enter with a knife. No one searched me just because I was a teacher who didn't know that I was a fighter and I was gonna fight all of you. He laughed sarcastically afterwards. He starts picking up the phones and telling them, I will shock you more. I'm not a teacher at all. This is the medium here, and of course no one is easy for me and I know him anything about me. And they handed me a classroom full of cute kids. Like you? Then he hears the voice of a girl crying, but he steals in his anger and tells them that I don't want to hear the voice of any of you. I'm sleeping without a cleaner. Here, after I praised him, he got up, or in a truer sense I killed him with my own hands. But suddenly he was in class, messing around, and one of the teachers said, are you inside, Professor Imad? Here? Before the children, Imad precedes him. He runs against the king and puts the knife on her control without speaking. This was a clear warning to any child who would try to scream. The children were watching and sitting on the ground, and the teacher did not see them, but she felt that something was wrong, so she spoke neatly and said, Professor Imad, if you're inside, come out. How are they? They leave all the roles to find them. She hesitated. She told him, if you're inside, stay until the police clear the house. This too. At the time he deliberately got nervous, but he told her, oh, of course, I will gather the children and wait for the police. Origin of the door is close to you and it doesn't open at all. The teacher actually walks and leaves him. The first time one of the students walked out, his chair was dead. It's scary to tell them what's useless. Someone move from their place. You all need to take your place. Suddenly he pulls a king from among her people, puts a knife on her neck, and he says to them, you will all stand like this shower, and be careful. The box moved out of place. Malak approached asking, will you come with me? The officer below is still your uncle. Suddenly Moaz ran towards them, hitting Imad's leg with a stick. Imad wasn't affected, fighting with the knife and stick. Suddenly Imad cut the child's shoulder, with blood draining. Malak didn't wait and stabbed his stomach, running away, broadcasting to her friends. Get him quick and I'll call the police. Running at full speed on the phone, she alerted the emergency. She said, they have room 207, the teacher has a weapon and he's threatening us. Save us quickly. But suddenly the teacher moves towards her and is fanatical, and his dwelling was all blood. He speaks nervously and tells her why. All your friends will die, I'll kill you. All of you take cover quickly. They shield his desk from blows, until finally the children remain sensitive to their blood and illusion. A tank filled with books and chairs, and suddenly the door opens and the police enter through it, and they take Imad, who had fallen to the ground from many beatings, and they quickly cover him with calabash and take him from the prison. But Kasad Malak stands up and smiles with his smile, which is all evil and the ball, as he knows that he will not leave her in a state and will take revenge on her. And he does. He speaks in a scary voice and says to her, it will come to you soon, angel. And believe me, then no one will save you from me. I know your address and everything. It belongs to you, but the police take it with 7 of their intentions. But before he moves, he tells her that I will see you soon, strong queen. After a while, the journals begin about him, and we know that he is a deranged killer and is wanted by many countries on charges of killing children and torturing them. And if he escapes from the psychiatric hospital after killing all the guards and everyone who works in the hospital in the most horrible ways, and after many investigations into any intermittent body of the doorman in the warehouse, and even the bodies of the disappeared children they found in his house, and it becomes clear that it is not the first time that someone has been killed. No, this Yuba killed many powerful people in the most horrific ways, and he entered a terrified king, always afraid to do better. The crazy killer comes to take revenge on her and kills her in her house. And even when a new teacher came in his place, she always looked at him with tension and fear. Look. Also comes the psychopath. That's it, my friend. Our story has ended today, and I think the 2 stories have gone astray, so don't be stingy with me in your opinion and yours and the ungrateful subscription so that we can grow the channel. And we will bring you colder stories. We will see you in a new episode of What Your Heart Loves. That's it, my friend. Our story ends today. We will see you in a new story from What Your Heart Loves, and tell us which story you love the most and which you want us to do and more of. Also, write your name in the comments so that it will be included in the next story.